She thought love had finally found her, until his mother called her Ghetto in front of everyone. What he did next made headlines around the world. The Whitmore estate sparkled under chandeliers, like a scene stolen from a royal film. Every guest wore designer suits, wine glasses shimmered in hands manicured to perfection, and waiters floated like ghosts between laughter and shallow compliments. Amara Daniels sat at the long polished table, surrounded by a family that had never quite embraced her. She wasn't their kind of bride. She wasn't bred from old money. She wasn't fair-skinned, nor did she hide her Brooklyn accent or her passion for community work. But she was in love. Madly, deeply, soulfully in love with Ethan Whitmore, the heir to one of the richest families in New York. And for a while, that had been enough. Until Margaret Whitmore leaned toward a guest across the table and whispered. "She's sweet, but a little ghetto, don't you think?" Amara didn't have to hear the whole sentence. That one word, ghetto, slammed into her chest like a bullet. She froze. The clinking of cutlery continued around her like nothing had happened. But inside her, everything broke. Ethan saw it. He saw her shoulders stiffen, her eyes drop, her hand tremble on the napkin. He turned slowly toward his mother, the woman he had respected his whole life, and for the first time, he felt shame, not for Amara, but for his own family. Ethan stood up suddenly, the chair scraping violently against the floor. The room fell silent. Every head turned. "Amara," he said, voice controlled but strained. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" She nodded slowly, unsure what was coming. He led her out to the garden. Cold night air kissed her skin, and the city lights blinked in the distance like distant stars. "I heard her," she said softly. "I know," he replied. "I shouldn't have come tonight. I should have known." "Stop." His voice cracked. "Don't finish that sentence." She looked up at him, tears fighting for space. "I'm not ashamed of you," he said. "I'm proud, proud of everything you are. Your skin, your story, your strength. But your family isn't who I'm marrying." She blinked. He took both her hands in his. "Let's go somewhere where the only opinion that matters is ours. Where love wins. Where you don't have to shrink to fit anyone else's version of worthy." "Where?" "Paris," he said. "Let's get married in Paris. Under the Eiffel Tower." Just 3 days later, they stepped off the plane into cold French air. The flight had been spontaneous. There was no wedding planner, no designer flowers, no 7-tier cake. But there was something far more powerful. Freedom. They walked the cobblestone streets of Montmartre hand in hand, laughing through jet lag and sipping espresso from corner cafes. Amara wore no makeup. Ethan hadn't shaved. They were imperfect and glowing. They found a local officiant who agreed to marry them with less than 24 hours' notice. He smiled warmly and said, "Love doesn't wait for perfect. It just needs real." Amara's dress was bought from a vintage shop, lace, simple, elegant. Ethan wore a navy blue suit with a missing button. It was messy. And it was magic. The sun rose on the wedding day, golden and soft. The Eiffel Tower stood tall behind them like a steel guardian, watching history unfold. Chairs were arranged in a semicircle in the park nearby. Only a few people sat, Amara's mother, her best friend Maya, Ethan's college roommate Jonah. And then, an empty chair. The one meant for Margaret. Everyone saw it. No one spoke of it. Amara didn't cry this time. She had cried enough. She was done mourning acceptance from people who didn't want to give it. She was marrying the man who saw her worth when the world tried to erase it. Just as the officiant opened his book, a hush fell. A sleek black car rolled to a stop on the cobblestone path. Margaret stepped out. Gasps passed like a wave through the small crowd. She wasn't wearing pearls. Her makeup was smudged. She looked like a woman who hadn't slept. She walked slowly toward them. No one moved. No one stopped her. She turned to Amara first. Her voice trembled. You don't have to forgive me today. Maybe not ever. But I need you to know, I was wrong. Amara didn't flinch. Margaret looked at Ethan. And you were right. Love like this? It only comes once in a lifetime. Don't let my fear be what holds it back. She turned back to Amara, opened her purse, and pulled out a tiny, worn box. Inside was a vintage handkerchief. Belonged to my grandmother, she said. She was once told she didn't belong either. She married a man they said wasn't her kind. But she lived boldly. Just like you. A pause. Then, you remind me of her. I'm sorry, Amara. Truly. No one clapped. No one needed to. Forgiveness isn't loud. Sometimes, it's just standing still and not walking away. The ceremony began. Ethan took Amara's hand. They called you Ghetto. He said it boldly, not ashamed. But you're not. You're powerful. You're radiant. You're the woman I'd fight the world to love. I do. Amara, through tears, replied. You gave me back my voice, my space, my worth. I didn't need a kingdom, just someone who saw me as a queen. I do. They kissed. And the Eiffel Tower behind them lit up as if Paris itself had blessed their vows. Later that night, as jazz played under the moonlight and fresh-baked croissants were passed around like wedding cake, a tourist asked Amara. Are you famous or something? Amara smiled. No. Just loved. Because that's what she had become. Not just a bride. Not just a woman who survived. But a symbol. Of what happens when love refuses to bow to prejudice. Of what can rise when hate tries to destroy. Of how one woman's courage to love out loud changed everything. Some weddings are traditions. But some are revolutions in lace. Some are bold enough to say, if you won't celebrate my love, then I'll take it somewhere the whole world can see. Even if that place is the foot of the Eiffel Tower.